This episode of Switchcraft is brought to you by Marquito. Support Switchcraft and my other content for as little as $1 and get exclusive rewards at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. I guess it does. I mean, I appreciate auto hosts just as much as I appreciate the other ones. Hello there, No Hero. How you doing? Let's go ahead and save project. We'll call this a C166. Episode 166 of Switchcraft is brought to you by the NES Archive. Join me on my journey through the North American NES library, one game at a time. We have completed all of the launch games now, although there is some question as to whether or not Mock Rider is a launch game. So I haven't included that one yet. That will be coming up soon. But I finished up the launch games with my video on Super Mario Brothers, which was a lot of fun to talk about and research and talk and record and edit. So make sure that you head on over to youtube.com/runjumpstomp and you can watch the latest episode of the NES Archive over there. And make sure that you do all the things that people ask you to do on YouTube, you know, like it, thumbs up, subscribe, you know, all of those things. And let me know what you think over there as well using the comment section. I really appreciate it. I guess that's the end of the sponsor. Hold on. I don't like how I ended that. I'll just delete that at the end there as well using the comment section. I really appreciate it there as well. Nope. We're going to do that again. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I'm screwing things up. Episode 166 of Switchcraft is also brought to you by the NES Archive. Join me on my journey through the North American NES library, one game at a time. The NES Archive is basically, I am looking at each game for the Nintendo Entertainment System that was released in North America and doing some research about it and talking about it over on YouTube. You can find the show at youtube.com/runjumpstomp. I have finished all of the launch games so far, although there is some argument as to whether or not Mock Rider is a launch game. I did not include it in the launch game list, so I will be talking about Mock Rider soon. But I recently posted my video all about Super Mario Brothers. It was a really fun video to research and record. So make sure that you check that out. Again, that's over at youtube.com/runjumpstomp. There we go. That was better. Sponsor. Save. Do I rate the NES Mini? I got the NES Mini right here. I don't know if what do you mean, do I rate it? Do I like it? I think it's awesome. This is really, really a cool little system. Big fan of the NES Mini. I also have built this for games that are not included on the NES Mini that you can't get elsewhere. This is a Raspberry Pi and it has lots of NES games on it. But if you are looking for the best way to play selected games from Nintendo, then this is definitely the best way to go. The NES Mini is great. It really is. Big fan of it. And as you can see up in the background, I've got the Super NES Mini back there. It's actually, where is it? It's right there. You can see it right on my shelf. I don't have enough HDMI ports for all the different stuff, so all of my mini consoles, like my Super Nintendo Mini, the NES Mini, my Raspberry Pi, all that stuff just kind of gets hooked up and unhooked as I need it. Hey, Fisto. So hopefully I've answered your question, No Hero. Oh, if you don't have one, I definitely recommend you get one, but they're hard to find. Although Nintendo is bringing them back this year. They haven't said when, but we're expecting them to come out again this year. And I suggest, if you can, to get the NES Mini and the Super Nintendo Mini because they're cool. They're just cool. Um, if you get a Raspberry Pi instead, you will spend less money, but you won't be directly supporting Nintendo. So I don't really feel bad about building this since I actually have. Where's the other box? Yeah. You can see right there, I have the European Super Nintendo Mini. And then I've got the North American Super Nintendo Mini, and then I've got the NES Mini. I don't have the Famicom Mini, but I feel like I've given Nintendo quite a bit of money, so I don't feel too bad about this. Um, Now, if they had Virtual Console on the Switch, that would probably be the way that I would play the games. However, even if they did have Virtual Console on the Switch, they probably wouldn't have all of the games that I want to try out on there. Yeah, they're printing money. They're definitely printing money, although there's definitely ways they could do it better. All right. Switchcraft is recorded live 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern and on Saturday at whenever I can get around to it. Tune in live over at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp, just like Kodiak Moonwolf, Vaxer, Awate86, Aerslia, Harvey P27, like Jet Ski, Marquito, who is a patron and patroned. I don't know if that's the word. He's the patron for this episode. Mikey B playing No Hero UK for the first time. Nurse Fern, I haven't seen you in a while. Fisto is here. Super 80s Wyvern Rip Snarl is also here. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with me while I record the episode. Usually this is where I do feedback. I'm saving the feedback for the end of the show today. I figured this is actually going to be a shorter than most episodes. So I've got a few responses that people have emailed me, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of the show. So after all the news stuff is done, stick around for some feedback from you guys. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'll just leave it like that. Name. We'll call that live. Save. Do you think they'll be holding on Virtual Console to sell minis? I don't think so. I think nobody can really decide what it is Nintendo's going to do. I don't think that they're doing that to sell minis because I think that the mini consoles, like, this is really cool looking and it's really well built. Inside is essentially the same thing that's inside of here. I know it's not actually a Raspberry Pi in there, but inside of this is really cheap electronics and probably a small flash drive that has the games on it. It's probably all enclosed so you can't get to it. I certainly wouldn't take this apart to find out, but this is cool. This is way, way cooler than this. This has more games on it, but this is much, much cooler. So I think that even if they had Virtual Console on the Switch, people would buy these anyway because they're cool. You know, they're really, really cool. And sure, you might sell a couple. You know what? No, I can't imagine anybody who would buy this that wouldn't buy this if it was available only on, or also on the Switch, because this is cooler. Now, the Switch is portable, so it's got that going for it. So maybe I'm full of beans. Who knows? But I think these are awesome. And yeah, you have the original controllers as well, which are like in a drawer over there. Although my Super Nintendo controllers are right. There's one of them right there. The other one's in the other room. Vaxer says he has a big version of the NES Mini. So do I. It's right. It's right there. That's the OG right there. All right. All right, sports fans. That didn't sound right. All right, sports fans. We've got a big decision for you to make. Are you team soccer or team baseball? Now, if this is a worldwide event, when I think that it is, um, I'm pretty sure that soccer is going to win. Baseball is America's sport, but at the same time, baseball is also huge in Japan. But soccer is huge all over the place. So the newest Splatfest, which is happening at 9 p.m. Pacific time on April 6th, is going to be team baseball or team soccer. Now, for me, I don't really care which one. I suppose that I will pick team baseball out of nostalgia because when I was a kid, we would play the hell out of baseball in my friend's backyard. He had this huge, long backyard, and we would go out there and play baseball like all day, every day for hours and hours. So much fun. Like we even had like baselines from his dad had bought like a bunch of spray paint cans, and we would go out there and spray paint baselines in the grass so that we would have the lines to run on. And then after a while, we would mat down the grass, and you would have like actual dirt to run on. When we were playing baseball, and we would have ghost teams and stuff, and it was just so much fun. Baseball is definitely something that I played a lot of when I was a kid, and soccer was never something that I cared about. However, my son plays soccer. He really likes soccer, and every once in a while we'll go out to the soccer field and kick the ball back and forth, and that's also fun. But I don't have any nostalgia for it, so I'm going to be team baseball all the way. And that's if I even participate in the Splatfest. I am having a lot of fun with Splatoon, but I've also been having fun with other games as well. So most of the time I forget about the Splatfest. Like I talk about it and then I forget that it's happening. Well, let's see what chat's saying. Oh, where is it? Wyvern Rips Gnarl says football. He wants me to call it football instead of soccer. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. RJS's own Sandlot. That's right. So I'm going to say team baseball. I think it's going to be fun. And if it's anything like the other Splatfests, I will play Splatoon and then forget that it's a Splatfest, which happens to me quite often. Speaking of Splatoon, this morning, I was, oh gosh, who posted it? Let me go to the channel. And it was Hopple in our Discord. Thank you very much for posting this, Hopple. Posted the European World Championship, or the European Championship of Splatoon 2. And I watched a few rounds while I was eating my breakfast this morning, and it was actually pretty fun to watch. And, I've recently have been watching more Overwatch League, which is really fun to watch as well. But the one thing that I really liked and yes, it's not a direct comparison. They're very, very different games. But one thing that I really liked about Splatoon versus Overwatch League is Overwatch League often shows you the view of the player while they're playing. And it kind of takes away the big picture. Like you can't see everything that's happening in the big picture. And of course, every once in a while they switch to a different camera and you can see the big picture. Whereas today when I was watching the European Championship, they didn't focus on the players as much. They zoomed out and showed what was happening from above, and it really gives you an appreciation for what's going on in the game. Especially like if I was watching Overwatch League and they focus on Tracer. Like the people who play Tracer are a special kind of people, and I cannot follow what the hell is happening on the screen when I watch somebody else play Tracer. So I very much appreciated it that we were getting to see everything from a point of view that we don't often see when we play or watch Splatoon. The winner was a German team known as Gucci Gang, and so they are going to move on to the championships, the final championships, which will be held at E3 this year. And there's a ladybug in here driving me crazy. So we have that to look forward to. And then one more thing about Splatoon is this was really weird. They had a concert with the with Off the Hook. That's Callie and Marie, or maybe they're the Squid Sisters. I don't know. They had Callie and Marie there. No, not Callie and Marie. Marina and Pearl. They had Marina and Pearl there. Like, I don't know, like up there, like when they had Tupac show up as a hologram, and they had them dancing up on the screen, which was cool. But they were like giant, and it made me wonder for a second, how big are the squidling people things? Because whenever I think of the squids, I always think of them as these tiny little things, not human-sized things. And seeing them up on the screen was it was just weird seeing them be large. And I'm just curious what you guys think. Did you ever think of these as human-sized characters, or did you always think of them as like tiny? Because for me, I thought of them as tiny, and seeing them large was off-putting. It was strange. I didn't like it. Well, I mean, there's a ship map, but the ship is for them, isn't it? I mean, they can't get in the water. One meter tall. Interesting. Speaking of tournaments, there is an ARMS tournament today. This is according to Nintendo Versus. It says, "Attention fighters, don't forget to tune in this weekend." That's actually today, 3:31 today at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So in about 2 hours, if I am doing my conversion correctly, in about 2 hours from when I record this. So by the time you listen to this, it'll probably be over unless you're here for the live show. And why aren't you here for the live show? But there's an ARMS tournament today, so make sure that you tune in over. I'm sure it will be at twitch.tv/Nintendo. Just close the chat because it's going to be filled with horrible people, I'm sure. But there's an ARMS tournament today, and I like watching ARMS tournaments. I've actually started playing ARMS again. I put it in my console last night and sat down, and my wife was sewing something, so I couldn't sit down and watch something with her. And my son is not feeling well, so he was sleeping. So I popped in ARMS and I played that for a while, and I had a lot of fun. ARMS is really good, and it's one of those games where even when I take some time off, after one or two matches, I felt like I got right back to my rhythm. Splatoon's kind of the same way. Even if you take a little bit of time off from playing, I mean, not if you're playing at like tournament levels, like you definitely want to practice all the time, but if you're just some casual schmo like me, then taking some time off and coming back to the game, I was able to compete. I was able to win a few. I was playing ranked, and I was able to win a few matches. I lost a few matches, and generally I had a lot of fun. And there was a couple of matches where it was like a real nail biter, where I was fighting against somebody, and it came down to that last punch or that last block or that last dodge, that kind of thing. So make sure that you check out the ARMS tournament today if you are watching it live, and if you are listening after the fact, I'm sure it'll be posted to YouTube. And if you don't have ARMS right now, it is on sale. I mean, you can get it for free. Like I think the global test punch is happening right now. So that's awesome. But if you want to buy the game, it's also on sale right now. So if you are excited about ARMS, make sure that you check out the North American Switch eShop. And today you can purchase the game for 30% off. So that's $41.99 or $39.99 if you are a My Nintendo member. I don't know what that means. As opposed to the normal $60 for the game. And so the game will be on sale until April 6th at 8:59 a.m. Why didn't they just make it 9 a.m.? That's weird. Pacific time. So make sure that you pick up that game if you haven't, or at least try out the demo, because it's a really fun fighting game, and it would be a shame if you never got a chance to try it out. So make sure you try it, and then if you like it, you pick it up while it's on sale. Man, so much multiplayer stuff to talk about today. It's Rocket League has given us a little more information about their tournaments update. So I'm going to read exactly what they said. This is posted from the official site. So they said, next week's tournaments update is going to be one of our biggest ever, and Rocket League players on Nintendo Switch have a little something extra to look forward to. Once the update is live on April 3rd, so that's in like 4 days, awesome, Nintendo Switch players will have access to new video quality graphics options. Specifically, after the update is installed and ready to roll, you will then be able to see Rocket League's video quality to either the default performance setting or the new quality setting. The performance setting is what we have already. So that's what we are used to now. And that means that you always have 60 frames per second, which for a game like this seems really important. Now, what do we trade off to get that 60 frames per second? We end up with dynamic resolution. So that means sometimes when you are playing the game, the resolution will decrease in order to maintain those frames per second. Because if you drop frames, you might miss the ball, and that could cost you the game. So who knows? Now, there's also going to be a quality setting. And in the quality setting, let's see, I lost my place. So they said, if you're more into detail and less about those extra frames, enable quality, and this will cap the frames per second at 30. So now, instead of having 60 frames per second, it'll be 30 frames per second. So the game won't look quite as fluid. Excuse me, it won't look quite as fluid, but it will lock the resolution of the game to 1080p in docked mode and 720p in a handheld mode, which is really cool. They go on to say that, and I've lost my place again, quality mode will also enable several graphics features automatically, like lens flares, light shafts, dynamic shadows, depth of field. Along with the new graphics options, we're also bringing video capture to Rocket League on Switch. Okay, I'm going to talk about that separately in a second. Quality versus performance. Maybe they should have a Splatfest for this, because I want to know what people are going to do. Now, I have long been a proponent that as long as you have a stable frame rate, it is more important to have that than to have a high frame rate. And it seems like I've never noticed any frame dips with Rocket League when I've been playing. I've always had steady frame rate. I don't know if it's always been 60. They say it has, so I'm going to believe them. But it's always been stable. And that's what's important to you, or important to me, because when I'm playing, as long as the frame rate is even, I can make predictions about what's going to happen. My brain can fill in the gaps between those frames. Now, going from 60 to 30, will I notice anything? And I'm sure that there are people out there who absolutely would notice something. But for me, I really don't think I would notice the difference, as long as it's a stable 30. If it's always 30, it doesn't jump up or down, then I think that I'll probably be able to play just fine. Now, something else to say about Rocket League is when you're playing that game, I've been playing it on my Switch quite a lot recently, and I honestly don't notice the lower resolution graphics because the game is just so fast and you're so focused on what you're doing at the time that it really doesn't dawn on you that the game doesn't look as good as it possibly could. And this is somebody who played the game originally on PC. So, what am I going to do? Well, I'm certainly going to check out quality mode and see if I really care about the 60 frames per second versus 30 frames per second. And if I don't feel like I'm missing anything, then I will probably leave it on quality. But if I feel like it's a worse, what's the word I want, a worse experience, then I'll switch back to performance. But you know what? I really appreciate Psyonix making this happen, giving us the option so that people can play the way that they want to play. And they are quickly becoming one of my favorite developers because they have they do loot boxes without making it feel dirty. All right, they have microtransactions without spoiling the gameplay experience, and they have really good communications with their player base. And then on top of that, they are continually supporting. They could have put out Rocket League the way it is right now on the Nintendo Switch and never worried about increasing the resolution or never done any of this, and they could have said, hey, this is what the Nintendo Switch can do, and we're just going to leave it like that, and nobody would have known any different. And they didn't have to do any of this. And so Psyonix is quickly becoming one of my favorite developers. It's a shame almost that they only will ever be like, I worry that they will only ever work on Rocket League and we won't see any other games from them. That kind of sucks. And then the fact that they're adding in the ability to do video capture, I'm so happy about this. And you want to know why I'm so happy about this? Because there's been many times when playing a Rocket League and I have nailed some crazy goal and then I've gone to hit that button and it says video capture is not an option in this game. And it's just, you're just, oh man. And I know that you could always save your replays, but I don't know. That just seems like too much work. It's much easier just to hold that button for a couple seconds and then you can post it to Twitter or whatever. So I expect that we're going to be seeing a lot more of those captures shared on Twitter. I hope that Psyonix is smart though, and that when you go to post whatever video it is, it says hashtag Rocket League, hashtag Nintendo Switch. Because sometimes it just says hashtag Nintendo Switch about whatever game I'm posting a screenshot from. And it doesn't say what game I'm playing. And then I have to go through and type in the game's name while, like, with this terrible controls, and that's always annoying. So I don't want to do that. So Psyonix, if you're listening, and I know that you are, just make sure you include hashtag Rocket League, hashtag Nintendo Switch, so that I don't have to type out Rocket League. Not that I need to type out Rocket League. I guess I don't. I could just leave it hashtag Nintendo Switch, but whatever. Typing on the Switch is not a fun experience. And yes, I could get a USB keyboard for it, but then I'd have to have a USB keyboard on my desk someplace, and I don't want that. Are they listening? Probably not. File save. Well, we'll name Rocket League. Save. Link, thank you very much for the 100 bits. Every bit counts, man. Right there. Thank you. Excuse me. Oh, you overslept, man? You know what? I tried to oversleep, but the cats wouldn't stop bothering me, so I had to get up and feed them. All right, sorry about that. Okay. So let me check. I think it's now, isn't it? PAX East. April 5th to 8th. Okay. Well, I'll tell you one place that I'm not going, and that's PAX East. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because I'm a teacher and it's hard to get away. I've got a family and it's hard to get away from that too. So I won't be going to PAX East. But if you're going to PAX East, then there's going to be some games for you to play at Nintendo's booth. And I just want to let people know what games they are so that you can show up knowing ahead of time. The games are Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, Sushi Striker, The Way of Sushido. Let's see, Dark Souls Remastered. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus will be there. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes will be there. There's a lot of things in parentheses here, and it's hard to read through. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, and they will also have some indie titles available at the Nindy Arcade, part of the Nintendo booth. They will have Just Shapes and Beats there, Dead Cells, The Messenger will be playable, Lumines Remastered, Runner 3, West of Loathing, Pool Panic, Pode, Garage, and Next Up Hero. These are the games that you'll be able to find at Nintendo's booth. If I were going, what would be the games that I would check out? I would definitely be checking out Dark Souls Remastered. I would definitely be checking out Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. I don't have that on my PS4, and I've considered getting it for my Switch when it comes out. But I'm having trouble making a decision because that's not a game I really care if I can take with me. But if it has motion controls on the Switch and it doesn't have motion controls on the PS4, then I will be getting it on the Switch because I love motion aiming when it comes to, fine motor skills for aiming like a first-person shooter kind of game. I really, really like that. So if it doesn't have that on the PS4 and it has that on the Switch, then I think that will make up my mind, even though it won't look as good as it would on the PS4. I've never played a Travis Strikes or a No More Heroes game, so Travis Strikes Again, I'm interested in checking out, but I don't know that I would jump in line for that just because I'm not super excited for it. I tell you what I would not be excited for, and that's oh god, where Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. I don't care about that even a little. SNK Heroines looks kind of cool as a fighting game, but again, that kind of game doesn't really appeal to me. There's way too much, quarter circle forward and that kind of thing. I very much prefer fighting games that are more simple in the button inputs and complex in timing and distance between the characters. I think that's more important. Vaxer says I should go on a school trip with my students to PAX East. That is a great idea. I cannot imagine how that could possibly go wrong, Vaxer. I will make sure that I let my administration know that that's what we want to do. I'll have to find some way to relate it to geology, though. All right, so if you are going to PAX and you are going to see some cool stuff while you're there, I would really, really appreciate it if you could tweet at me, email me, all of the ways that you can normally get a hold of me, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. Just make sure that you do, because I want to hear about your PAX experience, because I can't go. All right. Did that sound real sad at the end? In the future, all of our main titles will be released on Nintendo Switch. This idea is that what we have created for 3DS will move over to the Nintendo Switch. This is from the CEO of Level 5 Entertainment. So they are going all in on Switch. Now, some people have said, what, does this mean that they're going to be a Nintendo exclusive? I don't think so. They make games that are on other platforms. I think that what they're saying is from here on out, anything that they would have made for the 3DS will come to the Switch instead of the 3DS. And I think that what they are also saying is anything that they make for other platforms, they will also port to the Switch, so that because hey, it's the fastest selling console of all time, and Nintendo's knocked it out of the park, and they would be foolish not to capitalize on that. So look forward to some more games from Level 5. I know a lot of people are big fans of theirs. I haven't really played very many Level 5 games, but from what I hear, they're an excellent developer. So I'm happy to hear that they're going to be bringing more stuff to the Switch. More stuff on the Switch is always a good thing. Go research the rock formations under the PAX East location. Um, Level 5. All right. And that's it for the news today. Let's jump in with feedback. We've got just a couple of emails. And if you want to email me, you can do so. Runjumpstomp@gmail.com, or you can call and leave a voicemail at 260-RUN-JUMP. That's 260-786-5867. You can also join the Discord at runjumpstomp.com/Discord. You can tweet at me at runjumpstomp on Twitter. I got 3 emails here, so I'm going to read those. This one's from Rob. He says, Greetings. I just got done listening to your podcast, and I must say I really enjoyed it. I've been listening to you for about 3 to 4 months now, and I enjoy pulling up my podcast app to see when the new show is up and ready to download. Thank you so much for what you do. Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. Then they went on to answer a couple of questions that I asked. They said, favorite non-Nintendo game on the Switch? They said Celeste and Stardew Valley. They couldn't decide between those two. Stardew Valley is fantastic. I have not played Celeste, but everybody says it's awesome, so you're probably right there. Most anticipated non-Nintendo game, they said Octopath Traveler. I definitely agree there. That looks like a really, really fun game. They said 2 games that I'm excited for whenever they decide to drop on Switch, Pokemon and Fire Emblem. Pokemon, I think there's a chance that we will see that this Christmas. And Fire Emblem, I thought that we would have heard about something from it by now, because they said that we were going to be getting a traditional Fire Emblem on the Switch this year, and they said that quite a while ago. So I'm surprised that we actually haven't seen Fire Emblem for Switch, like a traditional, not Fire Emblem Warriors style, but just the traditional turn-based tactical RPG Fire Emblem on the Switch. Like, we're going to hear about that at E3. I almost guarantee it. Then they said a new game idea, so bear with me. Consider these games: Destiny or Mass Effect mechanics and setting. So a very smooth shooter with a third person's perspective in a sci-fi setting. That would be cool. I would really, really like to see a sci-fi shooter on the Switch. They're not saying Destiny and Mass Effect. They're saying that kind of mechanics and setting. And then they also said Overwatch, crazy characters and objective game modes. God, I've been playing so much Overwatch on my PS4 lately. I absolutely wish that Nintendo would bring it to the Switch, but I don't think that they ever will. They've pretty much have Jeff Kaplan has basically said, look, we are supporting 3 platforms right now. That's taking a lot of our brain power, and we just can't afford to port it to a 4th platform and keep all 4 of them at parity. So I don't think we're going to be seeing Overwatch on the Switch anytime soon, but I would love to see an Overwatch style game. So he says you take those 2 things and you mash them together, you throw them in a blender, and then you get a third-person sci-fi objective-based multiplayer game. He said this could be in a MOBA style or offer other game modes. Rob, I think you got a hell of an idea there, and it's definitely something that I would check out. Then Doyle's Bane said in an email, they said, my response to your non-Nintendo questions are, since you guys already discussed SteamWorld Dig 2, I would go with Celeste as my favorite third-party game. I consider it an absolute must-play with quality that stands shoulder to shoulder with SteamWorld Dig 2. 2 amazing games. Man, a lot of people really like Celeste. Number 2, he said, my most anticipated upcoming third-party game is Hollow Knight by a pretty wide margin. Have you seen this game? It looks stunning. I can't wait to play it. I have seen a little bit of it, but overall, I've just been kind of ignoring it while I wait for it to come to Switch, because I've heard that it was coming to the Switch, and I've heard that people love the game, so I've just kind of filtered it out of my, I don't know, my brain space, so I don't have to think about it. But when it comes, I'm sure that I will pick it up and check it out. Third, he says, my dream third-party Switch port would be Red Dead Redemption. I know it's a long shot, but I can dream. So I'm going to assume that you mean the original Red Dead Redemption and not the new, well, okay. So for those of you that don't know, Red Dead Redemption was actually a sequel. There was another one called Red Dead something else. I can't remember. And it was supposed to be pretty good, but then Red Dead Redemption was like an amazing triumph of an open world game set in this cool Western fantasy. And it looked really cool. I played a little bit of it. I didn't like it because it's a Rockstar game and I don't like their controls for the most part. Like their controls just, there's something in my brain that doesn't get with the way that they like to control games, and I just didn't like it. It always felt like I was controlling my character from about 2 feet behind them, which I was not a fan of. However, I will say that I hope that Red Dead Redemption, the one that was on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, I hope that comes to the Switch, because a lot of people missed out on that game, and a lot of people say that that game is fantastic. So being able to bring a whole new set of people who missed out on this really cool experience, bringing that to Nintendo for a lot of people who didn't get that the first time around, that's going to sell really, really well. And I think it would be very good for, I keep wanting to say Take-Two. What the hell is the name of the company that makes it? I can't remember now, and I feel dumb. So anyway, I can't remember. Moving on. The original game was Red Dead Revolver, and then this is Red Dead Redemption. But now, I forgot, we also have a new Red Dead game that is coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. And I think it's just called Red Dead Redemption 2, which is weird because I guess it's a prequel to Red Dead Redemption. The way that they've got things set up is very confusing, but that's beside the point. I don't think that we will ever see that come to the Switch, at least not this Switch. If they ever have upgraded Switches down the line, then maybe, but I don't see them bringing it to the Switch anytime in the near future. But maybe Red Dead Redemption 1. All right. Thank you very much for emailing me, Doyle's Bane. We've got one more email. And you know what? I did not write down who this is from. So thank you to you for emailing me. They said, hey, RJS, big fan of the show, and I really appreciate that I can trust your opinion on games, even when I don't always agree with them. I would never have bought ARMS, but your consistent praise of it made me say, what the hell? And I went for it. I absolutely love it, and I am hopeful for the future of the ARMS franchise. Anyways, I stumbled across this and thought you might like to take a look and maybe give it a plug on the show. I just learned about this game, and I'm not affiliated with it in any way aside from chipping in $15 to hopefully get the game. I'd love to see it on Switch, particularly the level editor, and I appreciate if you consider mentioning it. I completely understand if you prefer to stay away from endorsing something like this, but I'm hoping they'll reach their goal. Thanks. And the game that they're talking about is on Kickstarter, and some of you, just from the things that I've said about it, may have figured out what game it is, and that's Chicken Wiggle Workshop. This is from the developer Atui, who made Zeo Drifter, one of my favorite Metroidvania games. Really, really fun game, Zeo Drifter. They've also made some other games as well. Oh my gosh, the Mutant Mud series. They also made the Mutant Mud series, and they are headed by this guy named Jules Watson. I don't know how to say his last name, but I always see him posting things on Twitter. He seems like a genuinely nice guy, and I guess that it is really, really close to meeting its goal. So, wow, holy cow, it is really close. They've got 5 days to go. And in order to get this game on the Switch, they are asking for $30,000, and currently they are at $29,475. So I think I'm pretty sure it's going to make it. It's going to make it. That, like, all they got to do is get $500 more. I mean, if I were the developer, I would probably just, I would go to my mom or something and be like, "Hey, mom, here's $500. Can you make this happen for us so that we can get this game made for this Nintendo Switch?" This game already came out on the 3DS, and it is supposed to be pretty good, but it came out at the end of the 3DS's life, and it's too bad because from what I hear, it's a pretty fun game. Now, the way that the game works is you are a chicken and you have a worm, and I don't really know how the mechanics work, but it has level editors, so you can build your own levels and upload them to the internet, kind of like Super Mario World. So this is a game that I hope comes to the Nintendo Switch. I'm not going to kickstart it, though, as I don't kickstart stuff. That's just something I've always stayed away from, not because I think kickstarting is bad. I don't want to buy a game months and months and months before it can come out, if that makes sense. But if you are the kind of person that kickstarts games and or things like that, and you don't mind throwing $15 at this developer, they're definitely a good developer, and I am a big fan of the games that I've played from them. So I have no doubt that Chicken Wiggle will be pretty good, and it looks like it's going to be coming to the Switch as well. So thank you very much for that email. And thanks to everybody else who emailed me as well. That is all the time that we have for today. If there's a story that I missed or a topic that you would like me to discuss on the show, please let me know at one of the ways that I mentioned earlier. Shoot. If you are looking for ways to support the show, then head on over to runjumpstomp.com/thank-you. All of the links there will help me create more content. And speaking of the ways to support the show, there's a brand new shirt that I have designed and put. It's very simple, super simple design. Basically, I put it on my Threadless site, and it is just 2 letters. It's N and X. And like the idea here is that I took the letters NX, which for those of you that don't know, that was the code name for the Switch. So back when Satoru Iwata said, "Hey, we are going to be..." Hold on, is this working? Sugar. That wasn't recording. Damn it. Hold on, let me just check something. Person that kickstarts games and or a topic that you would like me to discuss on the show, please let me know at one of the ways that I mentioned earlier. All right, I can fix this. Close that. There we go. If you're looking for ways to support the show, head on over to runjumpstomp.com/thank-you. Once you're there, any of the links that you follow from there will directly support the show. And one of the ways that you can support the show is by checking out my Threadless shop. This is where I sell a couple of t-shirts. Go to runjumpstomp.com/threadless.com. Or you could just follow the link in the show notes if you're lazy like me. And what you can do there is you can check out a brand new shirt that I designed. It is basically, I used the font that was very much like Nintendo's old school original font for the front of the Nintendo Entertainment System. And I typed 2 letters, NX. And then I recolored those with a little bit of design to have them have the red and blue of the Switch. Now, for those of you that don't know, originally the Switch was called the NX. If we go back to when Satoru Iwata was first announcing that Nintendo was partnering with DNA in order to bring Nintendo properties to mobile platforms like Android and iOS, he also said, And don't worry, investors, Nintendo is not getting out of the console hardware market. We are working on something. It's called the NX, and that is all we are going to say about it right now. That was the code name for the Switch. And then that's what everybody was talking about back before it was real. Everything was just rumors and scuttlebutt until right up until that moment where they showed that guy playing Zelda in the park instead of hanging out with his dog, and showing that woman bringing her Switch over to the rooftop party across the street. Up until then, it was called the NX. So there's nothing on it about my podcast at all. There's nothing, no run, jump, stomp or anything on there. I thought this was something that anybody who likes the Switch could probably enjoy. And so we've got this red and blue NX logo t-shirt, which you can pick up over at my Threadless site. So make sure that you check that out. I'm out of here. I will see you guys on Tuesday. I hope you all have a great weekend. And there goes my voice. Bye-bye. Man. All right, let's hit File, Save. There we go. Karen, that was her name. It was Karen. It was Karen. Oh, Karen. Good old Karen. You can always depend on Karen. We made fun of Karen. But Karen was the first one to do something that that a lot of people have done. And that's bring your Switch someplace and play it out in the world. Like, I have pictures of my wife and my son sitting at a restaurant playing, I think it was, oh my God, I can't remember the name of the game. It doesn't matter. They were playing the Switch. They were just sitting there next to each other while I was talking to my daughter about something. And they were playing the Switch next to each other. And that's awesome. That's really awesome. No, I don't have allergies, Super 80s. But when you talk for a long time, like I just talked pretty much nonstop for an hour. You start to have your throat starts to hurt. How did that work, Fisto? Like, I have all 4 Jackbox games on my Switch, but we only ever play them on the TV. You know what I mean? And for those of you that are curious, what does the shirt look like? I'll show you. And it's not just shirts. I guess I could have said that. Tiny Me. Well, that's not working. Oh, there we go. So there's the shirt. You can get it in whatever color you want, really. Although, I wouldn't pick orange, because that's pretty hideous. I don't think I'd pick brown either, but I said whatever colors you wanted. People could pick. Yeah, the green's not great either. I think my favorite color is probably the asphalt. But you can also get it in at home. Like, you can get some weird stuff. Like, you can get a blanket. I don't know why anybody would want a blanket. You can get a coffee cup. You can get a phone case. There you go. There's your coffee cup. Whoa, crazy. No. I like orange shirts. I just don't think that the thing I made goes with an orange shirt. Clearly, I like orange shirts. I mean, this one is like looking at the sun, but it's always like looking at the sun when you look at me. It's because I've got a ball. I got a fly rink up here. All right, let's do a quick edit.